evolving expectations of our customers. They are ideal for range makers. The range is tuned to deliver unmatched fuel efficiency, resulting in better economics for our customers. These products also come with suite of features aimed at driver comfort and safety. Can I have the product video on screen, please? Further heights. Now I invite you to move towards launch for product unveil. Thank you. Which we feel are emerging on the in the CV industry. We are seeing that government is really focusing on coming out with a lot of coal block options, and we expect these coal block options to lead to a lot of mining activities. These products, especially Taurus tipper, is meant to address those needs. While we have existing product range to take care of crossover needs, but we wanted a true mining tippers to address those needs. So this is about Taurus tipper. Talking about paper, as we just now spoke, it's more about delivering this iconic brand, actually taking entire over-dimensional market. They were the only brand which was present across India. And Repo is it connects well with the customer in terms of reliability of this machine. And our idea was to create two variants. One, which could address existing needs of our customer, where probably duty cycles are very high. And second is about over-dimensional cargoes with our 6x4 tractor. We feel that current range will address. And eventually we expect market to actually move towards higher horsepower. And that is where, slowly these trucks will become core for Ashoka.
I frankly don't know who are these so many new tipper manufacturers who are coming to the market. I mean, there are one or two who are trying with electric tippers. But still, we have always said that innovation is in the DNA of Ashoka Leyland, right? And we generally you will see that when it comes to new customer needs, Ashoka Leyland is always far ahead. You wouldn't believe that in 2011 we created the first prototype of an electric bus in India, when nobody even knew what electric could be in automobiles. Listen, this particular product launch that we are doing today, like Sanjeev also explained, is basically looking at the future needs of India. He said, the highways are getting better. Lot of customers or lot of shippers are expecting much more faster turnaround times therefore. Whenever a highway gets built, it's not just like it's not just an issue of infrastructure development, but the whole logistics efficiency increases on that particular route. And therefore, the expectation from the shipper is that can you get my cargo quicker? If it used to take 10 hours, can you bring it in 8 hours? Can you bring it in 7 hours? Right? And the only way to do it is, of course, look at the reliability of the truck. But I think the most important point is that you have to have the higher average speed, which now these new highways they allow actually, but you have to have the higher average speed of the truck. And to do that, what is really required is that we put more torque in these vehicles. So basically what we have done is we have come up with our this world-class next-gen engine, which we call A6 engine. That is our own Ashoka Leyland's own engine. And we have really pumped more power and torque into this. Now it is not just a question of engine power and torque. You have to change the whole driveline and make it much more robust to suit that power and torque. So that is the basic essence. And we will see, we always used to think why Europe is selling 400, 500 horsepower trucks, while India is still selling 200, 250. But that thing is now changing very, very fast. It won't be very long from now when we will see even more power and torque in our trucks in India. Basically, what I personally believe is that the CV industry is the worst industry for Chinese to enter. Right? And the reason I say that is, in CV industry, price does not sell. Right? I mean, you cannot cut just the price by 10%, 20% and hope that these large fleet owners or any truck operator will buy your truck. Right? So that is not the case. Because I don't know if there are any fleet operators in the room right now, but if you ask them what is your number one criteria for buying a truck, they will always tell you it is service and parts. They will not tell you it is the truck itself. Right? Because uptime is much more important than anything else in our industry. And therefore, to establish a service network, a parts network in every nook and corner of the country, it is not a joke. Right? It takes it takes a lot of hard work, a lot of patience and a lot of time. Right? So we are not overly worried about Chinese competition. I mean, there are a lot of things to learn from that, which we will do, right? But a sense of our industry is service and then a great product, right? But service always comes first. Yeah, thank you again for that question, but I'll answer it in two parts. One is, we don't divulge individual product level investments, but I can tell you overall our company used to invest, our capex used to be roughly 300 to 400 crores in the past. In the last year, this year and going forward, we will be doing much more than 1,000 crores. Right? So what that basically means is that we are looking at heavily investing into future technologies, into future products. Now coming to exports, we are very clear. We have one philosophy, and this is not from today, but Ashoka Leyland has this philosophy from many, many years. And I just spoke about service, importance of service in the CV industry. And our export philosophy is that wherever we go outside India, we treat that market as our home market. Now, what home market means? Home market means like in India, India is our home. Like in India, we have an assembly plant, we have a manufacturing plant, we have supplier ecosystem. Then in India, we have a very strong distribution system, which provides the service, which provides parts, which sells the trucks. And we have local people, local talent who understand the local psyche of the customer, the local needs of the customer. They often live with the customer on a daily basis to understand what is going on with their trucks and what are the new needs. So this is what describes a home market. And similar is the philosophy when we go out. We do not want to just take a deal of 1,000 trucks and sell it to Cambodia, for example. Sometimes those orders come in, but we totally deny it. So if you look at outside India, we have three home markets. One is SAARC, of course, which are the countries around us. I did not tell you that, for example, Bangladesh is a big market for us, and we have a huge factory in Bangladesh. Right? So we are local. We have a local distributor partner who is providing service day in and day out. We are into every nook and corner of Bangladesh, like we are in India. The second home market is Middle East, which is actually now our biggest market. And we are very, very strong in UAE, we are very strong in Saudi, we are very strong in Qatar and many other markets in the MENA region. We have again a very large sophisticated plant in UAE, close to Dubai, and now we are setting up one in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, and so that is our export philosophy. Now, last point I would say is these products, they are now at the level which makes them attractive for some of these export markets, and therefore we will evaluate at a certain point in time after we have had some experience of these in India that we might take it into some other countries outside India also.
We have done an analysis of life cycle cost of a truck. Just to share with you, the asset cost is hardly 10% and 90% is cost of running a truck. So, honestly, initial cost of the asset actually does not impact. It's more about how the truck is run, how it is maintained. And talking about these trucks, definitely these trucks are, they'll get some premium, and two, three things which will make these trucks achieve the TCO with our customer. One is they're capable of running long kilometers. These trucks, if I talk about depot, customer can actually run these trucks for 20,000 kilometers. Today, average running for a truck would be 7,000 to 8,000 for 55 tonner. Similarly, when I talk about Taro shippers, these trucks are capable of running 24/7. And we were talking about XX service. So idea is to ensure that the customer gets best out of these trucks in terms of productivity, and then get going. The initial cost actually does not make difference. We have a calculation where these initial costs can be recovered max in 1 or 2 years. Just to answer you, in commercial vehicle, we don't only talk about fuel efficiency. We always talk about ton km. So how many ton a truck is going to carry, and at that tonnage, what fuel efficiency is giving. It's applicable for our tippers. So yes, I can tell you in terms of TCO or in terms of ton km, our Taurus tippers will definitely do better than competition. We have done extensive trial for last 2 years on these trucks. We are pretty confident about the performance of these trucks in terms of fuel efficiency. Similarly, eco range, as I mentioned, there are two distinct applications. One is 4x2 tractors for applications like cement, on-road applications, where enough work has been done to kind of ensure that these trucks are going to be definitely better than existing ones which are there in our stable. I can't share the exact values with you, but yes, for on-road application, fuel efficiency is going to be very important.
It's not fuel efficiency. अगर पुराना ट्रक मेरे को X देता था तो well this truck gave me 1.1, 1.2X. Now fuel is part of it, right? But fuel is not the only thing. This type of a customer in India, because India is growing so fast, India is going to drive so much freight demand in future that this type of customer segment will continue. So, हर एक के लिए नहीं है ये गाड़ी. Everybody will not buy a 360 horsepower vehicle, but there is a very large growing segment already, which will grow even further in future, which will demand more work from a tractor, more income from a truck, and more revenue from a truck, and not just look at fuel efficiency. So please remember this. Many times it happens that companies like us, especially like us, they have these technologies available and they have been put on the shelf, waiting for the right time. Now, you wouldn't believe that, just giving you an example, right? A normal transmission in a heavy duty truck would cost roughly about 2 to 3 lakh rupees. We have been, Ashoka Leyland has been selling few vehicles in some niche applications of a driveline, of a gearbox, which costs 3 times than this and is purely automatic. Right? So it's not that we do not have the technology. Actually, we were the first one to have this technology in the country. We still use it in some of the special applications like defense, etc. And we do a lot of those things. So sometimes it is just the right time when you want to bring these technologies into the mass market. But when it comes to technology, I can tell you with a lot of pride that nobody can beat us.
Yeah, I think it's happy days for CV industry. Quarter three was really good, and I mean, honestly, when you look at CV industry, the last 30, 40 years, whatever I have seen, it has been generally, 2 good years and then 3 bad years. That is how, that is what defines the CV industry. But last 4 years, after, in 2022, 23, we had a huge growth of almost 48%. Last 2 years have been kind of stagnant, plus minus 2-3%. And we were going through similar cycle till H1. And then, GST announcement came, and government also worked on interest rates. And ultimately, the larger, positive would be overall age of the fleet, which used to be around 8.5 years, has now touched almost 11 years. And operators are also waiting for all the positive cues from the government, and this acted as a big trigger. And all combined, we are seeing a huge growth in the TIV, basically led by all these operators. And at the same time, in parallel, Government of India started investing heavily on capex. You get to hear about new contracts coming in East, especially Northeast. A lot of work is happening there. So overall, I think these are all positive figures for the industry, and that is where we are seeing a huge growth. And growth is actually coming in all the segments. It's not that a particular segment is growing. We are seeing a growth almost in all the segments. And with retail, especially the growth is coming in ICV trucks. Yes, we actually feel that this growth is going to continue next year. As a manufacturer, we need to see how we ensure that we navigate nicely through these tailwinds. So yes, it's a positive time for CV industry.
Because like Sanjeev said, November and December were just fantastic for CV industry, and even the next few months and quarters look very, very bright. However, just speaking very fundamentally about our industry, I think one thing which will really help would be something on the scrappage of the older vehicles. And I don't say this with any amount of greed. Right? I just say this because when you even talk with people who own fleets or who own these trucks, they also realize that the newer trucks they have, like the BS6 ones, are far more efficient and productive than the BS3 and BS2 trucks that they have. Right? So people do realize that they need to shift to a newer vehicle. What they are, I think, looking for is a trigger. Now, one of the triggers has just come, which is sort of this GST rationalization, which is not about the price cut as much as it is about the whole consumption economy picking up, which is adding to the freight demand. But I think another trigger could be, very fundamental trigger, could be some kind of a support on the scrappage. Now, scrappage should not be made mandatory because we should not put that extra burden on our customers that we have to force them to change their trucks even if they are not willing to for some reason. I think some kind of a trigger in terms of an incentive system or some other thing that government can think of which can attract all these fleet owners to move to better products, newer products, more efficient products. If we can do this, this will be a big boost. Not just for companies like us, but also for our customer fidelity.
Having some additional features which others may not have. It's about ensuring that we provide the right kind of features for our trucks to these customers. तो हमने कोशिश की है, हम लोगों ने एनालाइज करने की कि ड्राइवर की प्रोडक्टिविटी को कैसे बढ़ाया जा सके। जो टिपर्स होते हैं उसमें जनरली ऑपरेटर्स 3 शिफ्ट में काम करते हैं 8-8 घंटे की। तो कैसे हम लोग इंश्योर करें कि वो ट्रक को ड्राइवर्स बिना थकावट के चलाते रहे। तो कुछ काम हमने किया है जो हमारी टीम आपको दिखाएगी जब एक बार आपको सामने ट्रक्स पर मिलते हैं।